Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go. Welcome to this week's episode of Leaders of the West. As always, I am ecstatic to have you guys here. Today, we are going to sit down with Ashlie Sutton. Ashlie is a fellow Idaho farm girl. She grew up on her family's farm in eastern Idaho. She is a wife, a mom of 4, and she's also the creator of a company called The Haircut Box. I'm sure you guys have seen me share it on social. I absolutely love The Haircut Box and all of their products, but Ashlie has done a lot of cool things. Obviously, her experience in the industry, creating a business, and then also her Thank a Farmer campaign, which raised almost $35,000 in a week. We talk about all of it. Ashlie is one of those women who you truly can't get enough of. She is so fun to talk to. This interview honestly could have gone on for hours. So without further ado, let's hear it for Ashlie Sutton. Ashlie, I'm so thankful that you said yes to sitting down for today's interview. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, of course. So to kick things off, let's tell us a little bit about how you were raised, growing up in agriculture, how you started the Haircut Box, where you're at now, because you've got a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on. So I grew up in southeastern Idaho. I'm one of 7 siblings. I grew up on a large potato farm, wheat farm, and we grew up working on the farm, but I really appreciated something that my parents did. We didn't just work on the farm. We were allowed to do a lot of different things. And so I feel like I had a really great childhood. Fast forward till now, I live about 20 minutes from our family farm, and I have 4 kids, married to an accountant. We love our life here in Idaho.
That is awesome. So give us a little bit about life between when you left home and now, because obviously there's a little cosmetology stint, if you will, that's in there. Give us the details there.
So after I graduated, I went to college and got my bachelor's degree in communications and health science. But ever since I remember, I wanted to be a cosmetologist. I would sneak my little brothers and sisters in the bathroom and cut their hair without my mom knowing. I have no idea how that would fly, because clearly she knew that they looked different. But I never got in trouble. So anyway, after I got my bachelor's degree, I went to beauty school and got my cosmetology license and started my own salon. So I worked behind the chair for 14 years doing hair, and I loved it. I loved my clients. I loved just having my own thing. So about 5 years ago, I just kept having this thought of there's got to be something more. There's got to be something I could be doing with all of this knowledge that I've gained over the last 14 years doing hair. And, I thought, okay, I want to start a business on doing hair. Well, that felt a little bit boring to me. Something else that I was super passionate about was budgeting, but that also felt a little boring to me. Something else that I'm also passionate about is creating memories with my kids. And I didn't feel good about starting a business on each one of those things. And then I remember we were up in Island Park boating, and I just had this thought: what if I create a business that I could talk about all the things that I'm passionate about? And that's kind of how the Haircut Box started, because the Haircut Box is like a physical product that I sell, but it's so much more than the physical product. It's talking about budgeting. It's talking about creating memories with your family. It's talking about saving money. It's talking about learning this new skill. And so that's kind of how it started. And it's been so fun to be able to talk about all my passions all bundled up in one box.
Oh my gosh. I love that you say that, because I'm a firm believer in, especially this day and age, you can make money at anything. And when people ask me, they're like, I'm not sure what I like to do, I always tell them, go write down, physically get out a piece of paper, write down all the things you love doing, all the things that you're good at, all of the things that light your soul on fire. Figure out a way to make money at that because you totally can. And you're living proof of that in the sense of I liked budgeting. I liked doing hair. I liked making memories with my family, but all of those individually, that wasn't the magic recipe. But when you
Yeah.
put them all together, that's totally your secret sauce.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when people want to start a business, they think, well, I can't do this because someone out there is better than me. And that's always going to be true. Someone's always going to be smarter or ahead of you or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but people don't have your knowledge and people don't have exactly what you have. And I actually think the word expert, I hate that word because it makes everyone else feel less than.
Yeah.
And, and I'm probably not the best barber. I'm probably not the best budgeter. I'm probably not the funnest mom, but I know what I know. And I think when we just lean into what we know, it really makes a big difference.
Oh, I cannot agree more. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, for those who maybe are unfamiliar with what exactly the haircut box is. We know the backstory now. Tell us.
Okay, so the haircut box is a box full of everything you need to give your kids really cool haircuts at home. I know a lot of people are already giving haircuts, but you can tell the people that are giving haircuts and not know what they're doing. They kind of look dumb. And so I want to change that. I want to teach people how to give really cool haircuts at home. And after doing hair for 14 years, I know that using the correct tools make a big difference. And so everything in our box is really high quality. It's everything that the professionals use. Plus, we have put step-by-step instructions in the box. Those two together will really give you a really cool haircut.
The other thing that I love too is as somebody who, I don't necessarily have a ton of people in my family, right? I've got Jet and Justin who need haircuts. But let me tell you, on the rural life side of things, if I schedule an appointment for Justin to get his haircut, I bet 9 out of 10 times I have to cancel and reschedule that because, I'm not going to be home. Oh, we're moving cows. Oh, this happened and I've got to go do this.
The tractor broke down.
Yeah. And then I'm the jerk that's canceling the hair appointment. And I don't want to be the jerk. I don't want to be the last minute canceler.
Totally.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. And a lot of moms, I think in a lot of moms, rural or not, it's like, okay, when can we fit an appointment in? I don't know, because we've got 17 practices that we have to be to today, or we've got a full schedule. And so it's like, if we can just cut out one appointment and you can do haircuts when it's convenient for you, like today, specifically, my little boy woke up at 7:15 and he goes, Mom, can I have a haircut? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it right now. So at 7:30 this morning, I busted my box out. I gave him a 15-minute haircut and we left for school. And in my head, the whole time I'm thinking, there is no way a salon is open right now.
No.
And so the beauty about having the haircut box is you can give haircuts when it works for you. And so growing up in the ag, I had no idea that men actually went into the salon. I don't know if my dad's ever stepped foot in a salon. My mom always used to cut his hair.
That is, I tell you what, I cut hair during COVID, and now I will say I'm on the haircut box wagon. So I'm back in my metaphorical hair chair, if you will. But can we talk about this? Men and their haircuts though? Women, as a woman, I schedule my haircut out or my, color, whatever it is, like weeks in advance. And I'm not just willy-nilly changing who I go to. I have a deep relationship with this woman. She and I have been together longer than my husband and I have. My husband can just go into Walmart, into the Smart Cuts, and not even bat an eye at what he may come in or leave with. How can men be so willy-nilly like that?
I don't know. And it's the craziest thing. I have a lot of customers who are like, my husband does the same thing. That's just a very common thing that happens. And then they get so frustrated because they said, because they do this, then we are stuck fixing these haircuts and we don't even know what we're doing. But we see it and we think, okay, he went and paid money for this, but it doesn't look good. And so I'm fixing it anyways. And that's when a lot of people finally were like, okay, we're going to get the box. We're actually going to learn because we're so sick of paying money, fixing it, not being happy, the whole thing.
Let's just start from let's just do it right from the beginning. I love this.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to when you had that light bulb moment of, okay, these are the things that I'm passionate about. How did you create? What was the first iteration of the haircut box?
Oh, that is such a loaded question. But I had a lot of big decisions that I needed to make, right? Because our haircut box is an investment. It's not just a cheap, like $80 box full of stuff. And that was my first thing of, I am super passionate about not wasting money. And if you're going to do it, I want to do it right. And so my mission of the haircut box was to teach people how to give really good haircuts that they were proud of. And so my very first thing that I did was I bought clippers of every price range. Like I bought the $30 pair of clippers at Costco and the $70 pair of clippers. And I bought clippers clear up to like $300. And I did dozens of haircuts. And I didn't tell anyone what clippers I was using. And I tried not to pay attention to what clippers I was using. And we rated everything. And I probably tried out 4 dozen pair of clippers. And knowing how to do hair and giving hundreds of haircuts before, I rated it on how good it looked, how easy it was, how fast my haircut was. And then also like how my victim liked the clippers on their hair. And you know what? It was very interesting because knowing what I know, the cheaper clippers were so frustrating. And I would go over the same part of the haircut multiple times. And it was hard to blend. It was hard. I mean, the whole thing. And so I feel like we got a really happy medium of really good clippers that are the best bang for your buck, but you don't have to break the bank and you're not going to have to replace your cheap clippers every other year. And so that was the very first thing of like making decisions of I'm going to put everything in the box is going to be really good quality and it's going to set people up for success. Because if I were to put cheap stuff in, people would have hated it. People wouldn't have given good haircuts and people would have had to replace their tools. And so it would have honestly gone against everything that I was trying to do. And so I did that with all the products. So I did that with clippers, trimmers, scissors. We ended up having to create our own scissors because none of the cheap ones were good enough and the expensive ones were too expensive.
I feel like on scissors especially, there's not really a middle ground. It's either they're like outrageously priced or they're like dollar store versions.
Yes. And so the ones that I liked were like $400. And I'm like, no normal person will want to spend $400. And so we created our own scissors and literally every single item in the box was meticulously tried out and picked and like really mulled over to make sure that people weren't just going to waste their money. Because of that, we've actually had like so many people have done so well because we've set them up for success.
That makes sense. Okay, so obviously boys, they're kind of the first victim, but let's talk about girls because there is a haircut box for girls too.
Yeah. And honestly, people don't believe me, but honestly, giving a little girl a trim is easier than cutting boys' hair because the hair is way more forgiving. Now, I do want to do a little disclaimer on the girls' box. We did create a girls' box. And for me, ideally, it would be girls from like newborn to like 12, 13, 14, because I think as women, we can all agree, like our hair is a big part of us. And it's kind of fun to go in and find your girl and get your color done and, just like have that experience. And so my goal with this was let's just keep the ends trimmed. Most girls from ages 1 to 12 aren't doing anything crazy with their hair. And so my hope was that moms would allow their girls to go into the salon once hair mattered to them because of all the money that they had saved when they were younger.
And again, you're not trying to take away from your own industry. You're just saying like, hey, I want to make this easy, but at the same time, like it is special. I remember the first time I went and got my hair done and what a big deal it was at the time. And I drove myself.
Yeah, honestly, like I love my industry and I get questions often about my industry. And I always say the reason I did boys' haircuts and the reason I did kids' haircuts is because I loved my women clients and I would always be doing a favor for them. But did I like doing them? No. Did it make me money? Not really. And I think, the more people that I've talked to, they, cosmetologists, they also agree. They're like, well, I don't really like doing kid cuts, but I do it because I really like my other clients.
Yeah, the mom of the kid. Yeah. It's a good way to give back to everybody. And I don't want to say that boys' hair doesn't matter because it absolutely does. And we've all had those atrocious haircuts, but boys' hair is a lot more forgiving. Like in 6 weeks, it's going to grow back for the most part.
You know what? And I always say, okay, if you have a kid that doesn't want you to cut their hair, you just dangle a $20 bill in front of their face and you say, okay, here's $20. I can either take you into the salon. It's probably going to take an hour. Or we can go buy you a toy, or we can go out for ice cream, or I can take you to the movies, or I can go buy a little RC car at Walmart, you know? And it's like 9.9 times out of 10, that little boy is going to choose the other thing that you could have done with the same money. And it's like the same money was spent just in a different way. And that's really what we have built our business on, is the same money is spent. So save where you can so you can spend where you want.
Okay, there are other things that you guys have aside from the haircut box. That's the brand, but you offer things other than the boxes. Tell us a little bit about those, and please don't leave out the hair mascara.
Oh my gosh, the hair mascara. This is the greatest. So we have a ton of fun add-on products, and I think that's one of the funnest things about being a business owner is the world is my oyster, right? I can create anything I want to. And so we created a product called the hair mascara. And it's a product that tames all your flyaway hairs. Or if you have little girls that are wearing ponytails and you have that, you know, those little new growth, it keeps all the new growth back in the ponytails. It is honestly, I have to warn people because once you buy it and once you use it, you will never go back. So we have the hair mascara. We have a dude box, which is for men. It's all unwanted beard and body hair. You can do your own at-home beard fade. We just launched an essentials bag. It has everything you need, like ponytails and hair mascara and mini spray bottle and a brush and tail combs for all the times that we're unprepared in the car before any time. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times a week that I'm like, dang it, I need a ponytail, or I just need to brush your hair so you don't look like a ragamuffin. And then the other product that I actually really love and people love is called the floor roller, because I think one of the worst parts about doing home haircuts is the cleanup. It's like if someone could just clean up for me. And so it's basically a giant lint roller for the floor. So after you've swept up, you know, the sun hits your floor just right. You can see little hairs all over it. This floor roller will just pick all those up. So we have a ton of fun products that we're continually thinking up and coming out. And honestly, it's fun because I just take a lot of the comments that I get from people. And I really do internalize those and try to create solutions. We're all about creating solutions and making things better for people.
Oh, well, you guys, I love all of the products that the haircut box offers, but I'm going to go hard on the hair mascara because I was telling Ashlie ahead of this, I have the worst flyaways ever, like in my part. It looks like I've put my finger in a light socket at all moments of the day. And anytime that I'm on a Zoom meeting, I have this blonde hair and I have a black backdrop behind me. And all you can see are those little hairs. And so finally I whipped that stuff out, and I've shared this on Instagram before. You guys have seen it. And it's a little like a mascara wand. And all you do is you use it wherever you need your flyaways. But you guys, it works. Like I now will put that on before my meetings, and I only have to apply it like maybe once or twice throughout the day. Like they stay and they're not greasy. It's not like gel where it's tacky. It's amazing. So if you have flyaways, if that's a problem for you, you've got to go in on the hair mascara.
There's a reason why it is our top selling product. Like it is so good.
Oh, it really is the best stuff. Okay, so we would be so remiss if we did not mention your Thank a Farmer campaign, which has quickly raised almost $35,000. You are a farm girl at heart, and that's one of the reasons that I love you so much, and I love all of the things that you do. But let's talk about this. How did the Thank a Farmer campaign start?
Oh, this was honestly probably the most special thing I have done in the last 4 years on my platform. So I have tried to shake the dirt out of my boots. Like those roots run so deep. So like I said earlier, I grew up on a potato and wheat farm, and we always worked spud harvest, and we moved pipe, and we didn't work all year long. Like I wasn't in a tractor all year long, but when we worked hard. And, you know, growing up, I always liked it. I remember our house faced the operation. So, you know, the potato trucks would come in, and when I was little, I was too little to be out working. And so I would just sit in front of the door and just watch the operation. And I've always been in awe of the operation. And then when I was 9 years old, my dad put me in a tractor in the crossover, and it scared me to death. And then finally I was like, Dad, please just don't put me in any equipment. Please just let me pick the spuds. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then, you know, I think when I was like 15, I started driving truck, and I've been driving a potato truck during harvest ever since. And even after being married, you know, I got married in September, and then spud harvest started like the next week. And it was like, this is just what I do. And so I got married, and I worked all of harvest. That might have been my biggest regret. Like, see ya. And then even when I've had my kids, like I have taken all 4 of my kids and worked spud harvest. They've been in their car seats and I've had them on my lap, and it's just always been something that has been really special to me. And I think the reason because of that is my whole family is out there. So it's a family farm. My grandpa, who just turned 89, still works every single day on the farm. And it's my dad and my sisters and my brothers and my mom and my uncles and my cousins. I mean, it's just this big family farm. So a couple years ago, we were faced with really bad weather. And my family still had thousands of acres of potatoes in the ground. And wow, it's like getting me emotional already. That's a lot of dollar bills left in the ground. And I just decided, I'm going to put everything that I have on hold, my business on hold. We're all going to sacrifice for the farm. And seriously, I'm not sure why it gets me emotional every time I talk about this, but I went up and I started driving spud truck. And I just decided to turn the camera on Instagram. I thought no one really cares about this. This is kind of a silly thing to share, but it was like the biggest response I had ever had. And people were flooding with messages and people were so intrigued and people were so invested in the farmers. And we just kept getting like these tender mercies over and over and over. My grandpa and my dad and my brothers and all the crew worked around the clock and they didn't take breaks, and because we needed to get the crop out. And so many people just kept asking, like, how can we help? How can we help? What can we do? And, and I just kept saying, just say a prayer for the farmers. Just say a prayer for the farmers and hope that the weather holds out. And I just remember we had miracle after miracle after miracle that year. And we ended up getting the crop out, and it was really hard and people were exhausted. And I mean, we were blessed and we really felt the prayers. And I just kept thinking after that year, like, I'm so appreciative to all the prayers that were said, but I want to do more. And if you know a farmer, you know that they are the best of the best. They have hearts of gold. They are the last people that would ever want to be recognized or appreciated. And I'm like, not on my watch. I'm going to make sure that these farmers are thanked. And so I decided to create this campaign called Thank a Farmer. And what I wanted to do was create like a physical product that people could buy and feel a part of, and then use all of the proceeds to thank a farmer. And so we created shirts, we created hats, and within a week we raised $35,000. That's a lot of shirts. That's a lot of hats. And I posted, a couple things and had people nominate farmers. And with those proceeds, we were able to donate to every single farm that was nominated. And, and the farmers aren't looking for money. That's not what they're looking for. And that's not what the goal was. The goal was to bring them like a cold drink or a warm meal or a yummy treat out to the field and just thank them for everything that they do. Because a lot of times all of us eat 3 meals a day, but how many times do we look at our food and think, wow, because of a farmer, I'm able to enjoy this food. And so that's honestly what I wanted. I just wanted farmers to feel appreciated and thanked from all of us who eat their food every single day.
Oh, I love it. The amount of times that I've gotten emotional watching you tell this story, I guess maybe it's a good thing that we don't do video on this podcast, because
how many times did I have to wipe my nose?
I know, I'm over here wiping my nose too. So you still do have Thank a Farmer apparel online, is that correct?
So we still have Thank a Farmer swag apparel on our website. It's almost sold out. I keep getting asked what we're doing next, and I haven't quite figured that out. It was a big undertaking. So I'm going to try to figure out something to do this next upcoming harvest.
Okay, well, for those of you who are interested in the Thank a Farmer, go see what's there now, and definitely check back in the fall to see if there's something new there. On another topic, something I do want to talk to you about. You are a mom of 4 kids. You are a farm girl. You're a business owner. Your husband owns a CPA company with his family, or a firm with his family. You are very busy. And I know from personal experience that when you're somebody who's very driven, you want to do it all, but you can't necessarily do it all at the same time. And that can really be challenging to find that balance that serves you and those around you. And you've mentioned that because of life and kids and, like I said, owning a business, that you aren't able to be involved in your operation on a daily basis. How did you deal with that realization and not feel guilty about not being able to do it all at the same time?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard question because there was obviously guilt. It was obviously hard to come to that realization, but I've thought about this a lot the last few years, especially. And, when I say self-appointed treat girl, that's what I mean. And I think every single role that someone plays in any situation is important. So am I up there running a tractor or am I up there driving a truck? No, I'm not up there every single day. But what I am doing is when I'm in town, I will run up a treat or I will send a quick text. And I think in different seasons of our lives, I think we just have to be grateful for the season that we're in and the role that we can play. And I think that goes to all things in motherhood. There's, having 4 kids, owning a business. My husband has multiple businesses. We can't do it all at the same time. A couple things that I have done that have really helped is time blocking. We could spend all day long mulling over something. And I think when, you're a business owner and you've got kids, you have to be expert at time management. A lot of times I will set my timer and like Alexa set 10 minutes on the timer and I force myself to make a decision and finish a project in that allotted time. And I think there's a quote that I'm going to botch, but it says something like, finished work is better than work that you thought about doing. And, and so it's like, what, I'm going to do my very best in everything that I do. And I'm also going to keep my perspective. It's probably not going to be perfect. And that is not my goal, but it's going to be my very best work at that time.
Oh, I think that's really important. Well, and I liked when we had talked about off air about your bio, you had said, I gave myself 5 minutes to do it. And I thought about it for 4 minutes, and then that left me 1 minute where I had to type it out. So you get what you get, but it's a testament of like the importance in that time blocking. And yeah, you will fill the container that you give yourself. If you give yourself a week to do something, you're not going to get it done until the last hour of that week because that's how we all are. But if you give yourself 10 minutes or an hour by the end of the day, you're going to meet that deadline.
Right. And you know what? I think I don't have it figured out. I don't think anyone actually has it figured out. And it's a day-to-day thing. It's a day-to-day challenge of I'm going to shut work off at noon. And then from noon till 8:00, I'm going to spend it with my kids, or I'm going to spend it doing something that I want to do. And I think that's every single day, that's a challenge for me. But every single day when I hold myself to those boundaries and those time blocks, I'm so much happier at the end of the day. Motherhood's hard and running a business is hard and being a wife is hard. And it's kind of like choose your heart. I love to do all of it. And I think at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are living our priorities. So my family's at the top of my list. But if my actions keep showing that my business is more important than my family, what message is that sending to my kids? And so we run our business as a family. And so there's a lot of times that we will have to, come down and sacrifice some of our time. But I also try to show them that I will 100% of the time choose them when they need me over my business.
Ooh, those are wise words. And I think that that's incredibly important as you continue to grow your family, because it also sets a good example for your children and their future when they have their own families and they say, I saw my parents, business was important, but they always picked us first when we were needed most. And that's a really good example to be setting for your kids.
So growing up on a farm, I think, and these are pretty bold words, but I think it's the best way to be raised.
Amen to that.
I truly think that even though it's hard, and my husband's an accountant, and so I just knew we would never raise our kids on a farm. And I remember praying, please help me find something that I can teach my kids similar lessons and similar, just similarities. And I think honestly, the haircut box has been an answer to my prayers because no, they're not working out on the farm, but they are coming down and they are learning work ethic and they are learning how to do a lot of things that they never would learn to do at ages 11, 9, 7, and 5. And so even though we're not on the farm, and even though a lot of people aren't living on a farm, I think there's also ways that you can be creative to teach your kids similar values and similar work ethics.
I love that. Okay, let's round things out. One more question, then we'll get to our final round. On that note, if there is somebody out there who's listening to this episode and they have this idea and they can't get it out of their head or they feel like they're called to create something, what advice would you give them?
I would honestly say go for it. No matter what you do, it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary to start something. It's going to be scary to tell the people that you love that you're going to start something. But you would way rather those feelings than living in regret.
Ooh, yes, absolutely. Just do it. Whatever it is.
Just do it. Yes.
Just do it.
And just know it's going to be hard.
Nothing in life is worth having comes easy.
No. And I think a lot of times on social media, we see people and we think, oh my gosh, they have it so easy. They're just, everything they do is good. And it's like, but what you don't see is all the behind the scenes work that got people to that point. So everything that people are doing, there has been challenges to it.
Oh, amen to that. Okay, rapid fire round. What's the best piece of business or personal advice that you've ever been given?
My grandpa always says, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And I love that. Don't sweat the small stuff. Like just move on. Don't worry about it. I love that piece of advice.
That is such good advice. That's one of my favorite sayings also. If you could give people any words of wisdom and you knew that they would take them to heart, what would it be?
I would honestly say, don't sweat the small stuff.
I like that. Okay.
Be who you are and be unapologetically who you are. People are going to like you or they're not going to like you. And it's none of your business if they like you or if they don't like you.
If you could go to dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would you pick?
This was a hard one for me to think about, but I had an uncle who was killed in an avalanche, and he was my very favorite uncle, and he died at 8 years old. And he's kind of, you know how everyone has like their person? He was my person, and I would just give anything to be able to go to lunch with him.
Oh, there's no wrong answer, but that was a really good answer. Man, you're going to make me cry again.
Oh. He was my person. And it's one of those things that, anytime I'm having a hard time, he just pops in my head. I would love to spend an hour with him.
Oh, okay. What is a quote that you lead your life by?
Another thing my grandpa always says is, it isn't the size of the man in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the man.
Ooh, mic drop. That's a good one.
It's a good one. I loved that one. I have it hanging in my house.
I might have to add that to my office. That's a very important one.
Because it's like, once again, if you want to do something, there's no one holding you back but yourself.
And sometimes that's harder to realize
than
it really is, right? It's one of those that's a daily reminder is needed. Okay, last question. Let's talk about your favorite things. Do you have a favorite product, service, book, podcast, something that's changed your life in some way that you think more people need to know about? Maybe it's a life hack. What do you want to share?
Okay,
aside from the haircut box, because obviously we know that is like the life hack of all life hacks.
It's the Atomic Habits. Have you read that book?
Yes.
I love that book. I've read it multiple times. I think it's so important to set little goals and achieve goals and just always have that going.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that we link that in the show notes. Ashlie, if people are wanting to follow along with you, if they aren't already, where can they find you online?
Our Instagram is The Haircut Box, and that is our handle across all social platforms. So whether you're on TikTok or YouTube or Pinterest, you can find us by The Haircut Box all over.
Okay, well, that's easy enough. And then obviously haircutbox.com. Ashlie, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, for sharing a little bit more about yourself, The Haircut Box, Think Farmer. You are just, again, this is one of those things. I was glad earlier in the show that we didn't have video so that they couldn't see the waterworks that we both had. But I feel very lucky because I get to see people in their reactions. And you really are. You have the brightest, most positive attitude and mindset. And you really are just a light. And so thank you for sharing that with us. You guys, you've got to go follow Ashlie in the Haircut Box. You will not regret it. As always, thank you guys for being here. And we will see you back here next week. If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.